Hare Krishna, we welcome everyone for our today morning reading. We'll be continuing our discussion or the reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 14, verse number 18 onwards. Let's start for prayers together. Om Ajnanathimiram Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Vena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Pashatadi Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nitya Nanda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gau Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Text number 18. Udhvam gachanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti rajasaha jaganya gunavritti stha adho gachanti tamasaha. ये हो गया? Perfect. Just a recap. We'll leave the translation. Start from 90. Okay. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets. And those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. Text number 19. We had read until 18th verse, so we'll begin our discussion from 19th verse. Nanyam gunebhya kataram yada drashtanupashyati madbhavam gunebhyascha param veti madbhavam sodigacchati. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to all these modes. He attains my spiritual nature. Hare Krishna. Prakriti Kriyamarani, we already read that, we discussed that before. Mother Kunti makes a prayer, right? Where she says, Ishwaram. What is that? Very famous prayer of Mother Kunti, where she says, actually, the Supreme, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you are beyond the modes of material nature. Namaste Purusham Tvadyam Ishwaram Prakriti Param. Yeah, Alakshyam Sarvabhutanam Antarbahir Avasthitam, like that. So here it is said in this verse by Lord Shri Krishna, those who see that at all times it's the modes of material nature that is acting, and those who also understand that I, the Supreme Personality, is beyond the modes of material nature, they are in complete knowledge, and such a person attains to my spiritual nature. Let's take a look at the purport. One can transcend all the activities of the modes of material nature simply by understanding them properly, by learning from the proper source. The real spiritual master is Krishna, and is imparting the spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. Similarly, it is from those who are fully in Krishna consciousness that one has to learn this science of activities in terms of the modes of nature. Otherwise, one's life will be misdirected. By the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, a living entity can know of his spiritual position, his material body, his senses, and how he is entrapped And now he is under the spell of the material modes of nature. He is helpless, being in the grip of these modes, but when he can see his real position, then he can attain to the transcendental platform, having the scope for spiritual life. Actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He is forced to act because he is situated in a particular type of body, conducted by some particular mode of material nature. Unless one has the help of spiritual authority, he cannot understand in what position he is actually situated. With the association of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position, and by such an understanding, he can become fixed in full Krishna consciousness. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. We spoke about it yesterday, how to situate oneself in Shuddha Sattva Guna. So one who is situated in Krishna consciousness, that means. For one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. Interesting. One who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. Maybe I can paraphrase. One who acts in Krishna consciousness gradually becomes free from the modes of material nature. Because one who sees means what? You're situated in Shuddha Sattva, you are performing an activity, then you become free from the influence of modes of material nature. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. A man in Krishna consciousness, very, very profound statements. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. Any quick thought, what does it mean? One who is in Krishna consciousness, therefore, should not act according to the whims of his mind. Is that making sense? A man who in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature, which means how can you say you're free from the modes of material nature? Well, as long as we are in this world, we'll always be exerted by the modes of material nature. We'll always be influenced. But when we stop acting according to our own whims, but when we follow the desires or the instructions of authorities, then we become free from the modes of material nature. Otherwise, there's no way of it. And that's a way of acting in Krishna consciousness. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. Again, the same point. One who has surrendered to Krishna. What does it mean, surrender to Krishna? Which means one who has started following instructions of Krishna. There are two things. Either we surrender to Krishna or else we surrender to, what does surrender to Maya means? Following the mind. Where is Maya? I am following Maya. Which Maya? Where is Maya? Maya is exerting you, through your mind. So following one's mind means following Maya's instruction. Is that making sense? And following Guru Sadhu Shastra is following authorities. Now, following scriptures and all that, in other words, following authorities. Now, it's an interesting thing. Now, maybe not in too much details, but just think about it. How does it actually works out for a sadhaka? The different kinds of, nitya karma, kamya karma, etc., etc. I'll not go into that technical terminology here, but just a quick thought on it. Can we always 24/7 act according to the instruction of authorities at our stage? Yes or no? Yes or no? Quick. So which means you're always going to be influenced by modes of material nature. When you're not going to act according to the instructions of authorities at all times, then you will be acting according to the mind. Then how do you sort it out? How do you neutralize the effect of modes of material nature? And how do we become a man in Krishna consciousness? So therefore, it is not said only follow Guru. It is said Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Now when it comes to Shastra, Shastra speaks about so many things. So there is one thing that we follow, what has been told to us. Now what has been told to us at all times may not be aligned with my liking. Right? For example, let's say the authority tells you, all right, Prabhu, now you're going to engage in deity worship. 6 time deity worship, offering is your service. You're like, oh, 2 बार अच्छा था, 6 बार तो बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया. But ठीक है, you do 6 times, but you still have time. And authority says, rest of your day, you can do what you want. Now, what you can engage in, for example, let's say you have a taste for music. You'll pick Mridanga and start learning Mridanga. Now, this is not against devotional principle. This is not what has been told to you explicitly, but this is what you like to do it, and which is within the boundaries of scriptural instructions. You like to sing, you'll take to artis. Let me sing arti. Let me do kirtans, not arti. Let me do kirtans. Like that, we have to use our free will to bring ourselves on the platform of Krishna consciousness time and again. Therefore, we study Bhagavad Gita, we understand what we can do, what we cannot do. Now, when somebody tells you, okay, six times in a day you have to do offering, rest of the time, if you get, you can do for yourself. Say, okay, fantastic. I'll do offering, and then for the time when I get time and break, I'll watch movies. Now, that is not, that you understand, right? I'm just giving one extreme example. That is not. But now you can follow the instruction, which maybe sometime may not be exactly according to your, inclination. But we need to do that also because it's a movement. We have to keep moving the things. We have an organization to run, and along with that, we will still get time. We'll be still able to take our time to do things that we like to do. What we call it, maybe a Krishna conscious activity according to us. That's how we can make ourselves always in Krishna consciousness. Now, where the problem arises, where we kind of fail to understand this fundamental concept, that we cannot progress unless we stop listening to our mind. Now, okay, there are two ways to look at it. One is just do whatever I feel like I'm doing, and I call it Krishna conscious activity, right? I will do this. This is Krishna. I feel like waking up in the morning, I'll do. If I don't feel like waking up in the morning, then I have an excuse because I slept late, or maybe my body is aching, something. This is one way of doing it. Other way of attitude of an individual is, I'll follow what has been told to me. I'm just going to stick to it. And then when I have the time, I will also do what I like to do. I like to read. I will read scriptures because sometimes I don't get time to read scriptures. I like to hear. I'll hear. Maybe I'll sing. Maybe I'll cook for Krishna. In Krishna consciousness, there is no dearth of activities to engage into. You're like an IT engineer, you can contact me. I have plenty of job opportunities for you. I'm just giving you an example. You have some inclination in Krishna consciousness, everything can be engaged. Therefore, here comes a very important point, as Prabhupada said in the preface of Nectar Instruction, attitude. Anyone remembers what's the statement? The progress in Krishna consciousness depends on your attitude. My attitude is, I am going to do it, what I've been told. Other attitude is, no, excuse, as we were talking yesterday. That's another attitude we keep doing. All right. Let's go to the last point. For one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. Text number 20. Gunaneta natyatyatrem dehi deha samadbhavan janma mrityu jara dukkhe vimukto mritam ashnute. When the body being is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Purport. How can one stay in the transcendent position even in this body? In full Krishna consciousness is explained in this verse. The Sanskrit word Dehi means embodied. Although one is within this material body, by his advancement in spiritual knowledge, he can be free from the influences of modes of nature. He can enjoy the happiness of spiritual life even in this body, because after leaving this body, he's certainly going to the spiritual sky. But even in this body, he can enjoy spiritual happiness. In other words, devotional service and Krishna consciousness is a sign of liberation from material entanglement. And this will be explained in the 18th chapter. In essence, to surrender and to follow is in our favor. Yes or no? Is in our interest. So later on we'll discuss about the nature of happiness and mode of goodness. Nature of happiness and mode of goodness it's a little bitter in the beginning. But later on it becomes relishable. Why it is? Because now you have to follow. Mode of goodness means follow Guru Sadhu Shastra. And mode of ignorance means, entirely mode of ignorance means just do whatever you want. That's animalistic life. So now not to do what your mind says. How many of you think it's going to be difficult? Let me ask this. How many of you have an experience, you have been asked to do something while at that point of time, you intended to do something else. And suddenly somebody comes and tells you, no, okay, all right, this is not what you're going to do. I want to do this. And you think, Hare, I've already made up my mind. This is what I want to do it. In an office probably would happen, but by the way, I'm not talking about this surrender to your office guru. I'm talking about, Krishna. But how many have that experience of little irritation, little discomfort when, you have been told, but you had some other plans. You have some other plans, you said, no, you can't do this. We have that. Okay, let me ask this way. In case if you said, okay, I'll do it. And you cultivated this habit of, okay, let me follow. How many of you have that experience? You're this kind of, what do you say, repulsion or your dissatisfaction reduced. In the beginning when you were told to do it, the what do you say, the repulsion was too huge. But when you begin following instruction, gradually your repulsion reduced. How many agree with that? Raise your hands. That's the proof. That is the proof. We need to learn to follow. In the beginning is going to be difficult. Yes? You and I had spoken something. I was just speaking to somebody who's the newest member of our forum. And anyways, I'll speak later on about that. But we have an experience. So please learn from your experiences. And then understand this is in my good interest, in fact, best interest, that I learn to follow. In the beginning, there's always going to be a little aversion to it. But once we begin to follow it, we realize there is a greater happiness in this. And that's how we cultivate submissive attitude. All right. In other words, devotional service in Krishna consciousness is a sign of liberation from material entanglement. And this will be explained in the 8th chapter. When one is freed from the influence of the modes of matter nature, he enters into devotional service. Okay, let me ask any one of you. With this experience, have you learned anything? That in the beginning days when you were told, okay, chant 16 rounds. No, I cannot. I'll just chant 1 round. Okay, eat Krishna Prasad. Oh, no. I'll maybe once in a Sunday, I'll come and eat Krishna Prasadam. We had different reasons not to, do. Okay, read Prabhupada. No, I want to still read my magazines and novels. Okay, stop watching movie. Okay, I'll only watch Bollywood movies, no Hollywood now. We had our permutation combination of going to do that. Now, with that experience of not doing attitude to following attitude, have you learned anything? What your experience have taught you? There is someone's very significant thing you would have learned if in case you have ever paid attention to your experiences. Any quick thing, any quick thought, anyone? What? This is something which we need to be discussing about because this is what strengthens faith. Otherwise, you keep reading, keep moving forward, not recognize what has happened to us. Any quick thought? What has happened? Yes. Okay. Abhishek Prabhu says peacefulness. Anything else? Anything else? Mental chatter reduces, and Prabhu says. What else?
You start doing things on a very spontaneous manner.
1 second, Krishna. Let me just check my sound of the speaker here. 1 second. Please go ahead. Speak up now.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Yes, audible.
Yeah, you start, anyone who tells you to do any service, you spontaneously do it without any mind chattering. You just carry on.
I mean, life becomes very simple. How many of you agree? Life becomes very simple, less complicated. We become, as Abhishek Prabhu said, he must have had a plenty of experience that he's experiencing peacefulness now, which is correct. Life becomes peaceful. I can tell you, I mean, for myself, if I have to say, I would say, being a follower is the best position in the world. Being a follower is the best position in the world. Being a leader is the most difficult situation in the world. Unlike in the material realm, material world, material paradigm, you want to be the leader because there the whole perspective is of exploitation. The more people are able to exploit, the greater satisfaction you have. But in our spiritual practice, it's entirely opposite. We understand if you want to live a peaceful and happy life, best is leader means he has to take all the headache. You peacefully follow. Whose responsibility? Leaders. किसने बोला? बाप ने बोला, मतलब लीडर ने बोला, अपने को क्या करना है? It's a very, so this is something, few things that we need to understand and learn and recognize it, so that those of us who very closely interact with material nature will remain a little bit prevented, not get into this idea I need to become the boss of the boss. No, being a boss of the boss is a very painful situation. Being a follower is simple. That is a time when you can really rejoice in Krishna consciousness, because you just have to follow. Live your life. Wonderful. That's the point here. Great. Text number 21. Now I'm giving you reasons why we should be a follower. And this is something you are sharing from your experiences. This is what we all have to pay attention to. Sometime if and next time somebody tells you, some authority tells you do this, and you might say, "Oh, I have other plans." So you have reasons to recount why I should follow and give up my plans, my independent mentality. Text number 21. Arjuna Vacham Kailingestam Gunaneta Adito Bhavati Prabhu Kimachara Katam Chaita Tanguna Nativartate. Arjuna inquired, O my dear Lord, by which symptoms is one known who is transcendental to these three modes? What is his behavior? And how does he transcend the modes of material nature? Krishna Chandra, read out. Purport.
In this verse, Arjuna's questions are very appropriate. He wants to know the symptoms of person who has already transcended the material modes. His first inquiry is of the symptoms of such a transcendental person. How can one understand that he has already transcended the influence of the modes of material nature? The second question asks how he lives and what his activities are. Are they regulated or non-regulated? Then Arjuna inquired of the means by which he can attain the transcendental nature. That is very important. Unless one knows the direct means by which one can be situated, always transcendentally, there is no possibility of showing the symptoms. So all these questions put by Arjuna are very important, and the Lord answers them.
Text number 22 to text number 25. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Prakasham cha pravrittim cha mohamiva cha pandava nadveshti sampravartani nanavritani kangshati Udasina vadasino gunirvo na vicharyate gunavartanta iti evam yo avistashti ningate samadhuka sukha swastha samaloštashma kanchanaha tulya priya priyo dhiras tulya nandatma samsutihi manapmanayos tulyas tulyo mitrari pakshaya Sarvaramba parityagi gunatita sauchyate. Translation. The Supreme Personality of God has said, O son of Pandu, he who does not hate elimination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of the material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal towards the desirable and the undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friends and enemy, and who has renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature. All right. Mother Priyanka, you can read the first paragraph of the puppet. Go ahead.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Arjuna submitted three different questions and the Lord answers them one after another. In these verses, Krishna first indicates that a person transcendently situated has no envy and does not hanker for anything. When a living entity stays in this material world, embodied by the material body, it is to be understood that he is under the control of one of the three modes of material nature. When he is actually out of the body, then he is out of the clutches of the material modes of nature. But as long as he is not out of the material body, he should be neutral. He should engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord so that his identity with the material body will automatically be forgotten. When one is conscious of the material body, he acts only for sense gratification. But when one transfers the consciousness to Krishna, sense gratification automatically stops. One does not need this material body, and he does not need to accept the dictations of the material body, and he does the material body. The qualities of the material modes of the body will act, but as spirit soul, the self is aloof from such activities. He does. How does he Become aloof. He does not desire to enjoy the body, nor does he desire to get out of it. Thus, transcendently situated, the devotees become automatically free. He need not try to become free from the clutches of the modes of material nature.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right. Mother Sangeeta, you can read the next paragraph.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The next question concerns the dealings of a transcendently situated person. The materially situated person is affected by so-called honor and dishonor offered to the body. But the transcendently situated person is not affected by such false honor and dishonor. He performs his duty in Krishna consciousness and does not mind whether a man honors or dishonors him. He accepts things that are favorable for his duty in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, he has no necessity of anything material, either a stone or gold. He takes everyone as his dear friend who helps him in his execution of Krishna consciousness, and he does not hate his so-called enemy. He is equally disposed and sees everything on an equal level because he knows perfectly well that he has nothing to do with material existence. Social and political issues do not affect him because he knows the situation of temporary upheavals and disturbances. He does not attempt anything for his own sake. He can attempt anything for Krishna, but his personal self, he does not attempt anything. By such behavior, one becomes actually transcendently situated. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We are on the last two concluding verses now. So here, what Arjuna asked, Krishna has answered. Now coming to the last part, the first two questions which Arjuna asked in the previous verses were answered. Symptoms by which such a person can be known, who has transcended, and what is his behavior. Now comes the third and the last question. How does he transcend the modes of mental nature? How does it happen? Text number 26, very important verses. Mamachaya vicharena bhakti yogena sevate saguna samiti yeta brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Hare Krishna. Just a quick point here. Traigunya Vishyaveda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. So in the second chapter, Lord Shri Krishna said, one of the objectives of Vedic knowledge is to tell you about the three modes of material nature and to guide you to become free of it. So we have this human form of life, and the goal of this human form of life is to become free from the modes of material nature. For what? Brahmabhuta prasanatmana sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhakti labade param. Srila Prabhupada writes to this particular verse so that one can engage in my pure devotional service, the Lord's devotional service wholeheartedly. This is something, oftentimes in the morning we say the goal, what is that? Krishna Prema. Every devotee claims to Vaishnava must carefully guard his offense in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema, which is absolutely correct, absolutely fine. However, when we have this struggles within ourselves, particularly struggle arises because of the mind not cooperating, willing to follow. The mind has its own plans and keeps coming up with different ideas. I believe these sections are very important, particularly this Jnana section. For those whose mind has become to some degree purified, individual who has become a little more simple-hearted, for him, the middle 6 chapters are fantastic. Surrender. We understand the meaning of it. But for us, the complicated living entities, special product of Kali Yuga, for us, we need some support of jnana that helps us why we should act. Because for everything, have you noticed? We ask a lot of questions. Kyun? Kyun karu main? Why? You first tell me why. Even if you don't speak it, does your mind yes or no? So for us, for such living entities, this last 6 chapters are very, very important. I would request this should be read not once or twice, at least dozen of times. This we have to there are certain sections that it's like we need to take shelter of it and we need to reread it, because when you reread it, then it begins to make sense. अरे ये तो मेरे बारे में बात चल रही है. When you might have read for the first time, think, oh, बेचारा अर्जुन गुमराह हो गया युद्ध भूमि पे जाकर. अबे उसके गुमराह की नहीं, तेरे गुमराह की जीवन की बात चल रही है. We have some strange ideas in the beginning, and then when you read few times, hey, look, sounds like ये मेरा case study discuss हो रहा है यहाँ पर. So this section where we remind ourselves again and again why to follow. Otherwise, if you see, our case is quite hopeless. We are too much influenced by the modes of material nature. Somehow, by some causes, we are taken to the path of bhakti. Yet, to exercise that surrender, it becomes very difficult at times. So, to make our journey easy is extremely important. Now, on top of it, imagine those of you who have got trained. Like I'm talking about those of you who are sitting here, you still have got training. Think about those who have not lived in a brahmachari ashram. Those who are living in the grahastha ashram, or those who joined as a grahasthas, don't mind, but these are the facts, Why? Because when you're living inside the ashram under the direction of Guru, then there is certain rules and regulation can be established. Wake up time, sleeping time, what time you'll have prasadam, things can be regulated. But when you are as a congregation, you're on your own literally. The relationship with Guru is purely on faith. It's not purely on trust. The Guru have told you something and it's now on you to live by it. Nobody's going to come and enter your house and ask you or check at you what time you woke up, what time you slept. Are you eating Krishna Prasadam only or not? So it becomes extremely difficult, very difficult. Now as a congregation, if you are in that situation, nobody can force you. You have to take this responsibility to take to training. Accept the training, undergo the training. And without training, nothing is possible. Now, for example, those of you who ended up here, like our Anuj Prabhu, he crash landed in our center in the beginning when we started it. Poor fellow used to stand on balcony, used to look up in the sky, hey Prabhu, मैं कहाँ आ गया? उसकी स्थिति ऐसी होती थी. But अब वो आ गया तो आ गया, अब फंस गया वो, अब उसको रहना ही है. रहते रहते ट्रेनिंग हो गई. But a congregation cannot. Once you are here in the center, there is all the opportunity, and there is a way. Now you have your reasons to stay. बाहर जाऊंगा तो कौन सी वाली रोटी बताया करते थे, खाते थे तुम पहले? पानी वाली दाल मिलेगी और क्या है, सूखी रोटी मिलेगी. XYZ reasons happens outside करके, and plus Ekadashi, even in case you are, and what other reason could be, you came back. So what possible reasons could be? No cleanliness, etc. Things, So थोड़ी austerity भी होती है, चलो ठीक है, handle कर लो. But slowly and gradually you accept it. But think about those who are outside, those who have not had this opportunity for this training, how difficult it is. Now you are alone. You have one mind, which is itself impossible to handle. In a family, you have multiple minds. Gauranga. Only Gauranga's mercy can save that. Think about it, isn't it? I mean, you ain't the decision maker alone. Your Ardhangani is what we say in Hindi, and your Ardhangana, if in case that's what you want to say, is also a decision maker. And you might be thinking we are the decision maker, but the boss is a little tiny fellow, which you call him Tinku Pinku. They may be the decision maker in the house. Oh my goodness, how do you resolve this? Think about it. So those who still don't have Tinku Pinku, you still have chance to reform. And if you don't reform and you have Tinku Pinku afterwards, then the only Nityanand Prabhu can save. I mean, sorry, for my language, I was just putting in a little lighter note. But see what is happening here. Look what is being discussed here. We're not supposed to listen to you, listen to him, listen to her. We're supposed to follow Guru Sadhu Shastra. But where is Guru Sadhu Shastra in my life? My life is so busy. I don't have time to study. And the moment the devotee reads once Bhagavad Gita, thinks, I've read Bhagavad Gita, I've understood Bhagavad Gita. What's next? I have so many worries to deal with. मेरे बच्चों का education, मेरा health, मेरे माँ बाप का ये, मेरा वो. Where is it possible? So there has to be some emphasis to take to Krishna consciousness and to follow is in your own goodwill. Unless we understand that, why would a person accept authority? Or else our acceptance of authority is only limited for, I have to get initiation. I have to get Brahman Diksha. Unless otherwise it is only limited to that. My surrender, all of that is restricted to that. So I mean, I say, what is happening here? Look at it. I mean, surrender, attitude. How would we develop that? One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of matter nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So we'll take this to us on Monday when we meet again. Just read the text number 27 translation. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amratasya vayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya kantikasya cha. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is time immemorial, immemorial. Immortal. I'm so sorry, yeah. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So we'll see this. We'll take to look at this chapter, last two verses. So, Hare Krishna. We'll pause here our discussion. Just to recap what we read today. Again, we were discussing on the modes of material nature. Today's focus on our reading was largely on how to transcend the modes of material nature, as you saw through the verses in the purports of Srila Prabhupada. And how to transcend the modes of material nature? How to transcend? To engage in Krishna consciousness. To be Krishna conscious. How to become Krishna conscious? How to become Krishna conscious? By following the mind. Hari Bol. That is called Maya consciousness, not Krishna consciousness. So by following Guru Sadhu Shastra. Now following Guru, which means authority at all times, at our stage is not possible. We need some fresh air. सांस लेने का मौका छोड़ो, सिर पे ही बैठ गए. So for that we have Guru Sadhu Shastra, the whole spectrum available. In that everything is there. Any inclination, likings that we have that opportunity to engage in the service of the Lord. But primarily we first follow the authority, which means out of 100%, at least 60 to 70% of our activities should be governed by Guru. Okay, now this may be, I can say for Brahmachari congregation, I would let congregation define it, semi-swarat. So you can decide for yourself, what to do about it. But I mean, you have to take a responsibility in that ashram. What can you do about it? That's how it functions. So what is the point I'm saying? 70%, another 30% is your space. Learn music, learn cooking, sing for the Lord, engage in different things. And once again, IT inclination, you have my number and email address. So like that, we at the stage of sadhaka can make a progress. And the Prabhupada writes, when you begin to act in Krishna consciousness, gradually the influence of modes of material nature will cease. It is not going to happen overnight. This is something very important for you to know. Prabhupada wrote that, right? It will gradually cease, and we will experience to that extent, we'll experience a sense of happiness. Like Abhishek Prabhu rightly said, peace. We'll experience peace, yes. This peace is described in the second chapter, verse number 71 and 72. You experience the peace like that. All right. Hare Krishna. These are some quick thoughts and discussion on our today's reading. Jagadru Srila Prabhupada